everybody. Welcome to the Dating is Hard podcast. I'm your host, Joe Welkie. For everything you need to know about the show, please head over to datingishardcomedy.com. The Instagram is at datingishardcomedy, and you can follow me on Instagram at Joe Welkie. That's where I do all the updates about the show, when the new episodes come out, etc. If you could please go to Apple Podcasts, subscribe, rate, review. I think right now I'm at 89 reviews. Please, let's try and get that to 100. Let's give those 5-star reviews, baby. Let's get them. Come on. If you're liking the show, tell a friend about it. If you're not liking the show, shut the fuck up. Don't tell anybody about that shit. Just move on with your life. Anyway, so what usually happens with the show is I meet up with people that I've met through dating apps, complete strangers. I know them for about an hour before I start talking to them about dating, but today is something different because of coronavirus. It's been a little harder to get people that, you know, are willing to meet up because of, you know, the quarantine and everything. So I've just been having a couple of friends of mine come on the show, and today is a very good friend of mine. She's hilarious, a great comic, former contestant on the Dating is Hard game show, and the co-creator, co-founder of Mox Magazine. You'll hear all about that in a second. Please enjoy my chat with Monarey Martinez. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dating is Hard podcast. I'm your host, Joe, and what normally goes on with this show is I meet people through dating apps, but a little bit different today. Got a good buddy, fellow comic on the show today, the co-creator of Mox Magazine,
yes.
Monarey Martinez. Monarey, thanks for coming and doing the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I was curious how you're like, I would never date this girl. This is not from Bumble. This is just from a comic. I was like, okay.
This is just some scumbag comedian.
Yeah, this is some whore who keeps talking.
That I found rumbling around on the street, and I was like, here, let's put a microphone in front of this crazy bitch.
She's an orphan, and let me give her some water, hopefully talk on a podcast, and it'll be funny.
Before we get into, like, dating shit,
mm-hmm.
Talk about Mox Magazine, because I saw it the other day, and I read it. It was so fucking funny, and it made me feel like such a lazy piece of garbage.
No, you have a 9 to 5. I'm not doing anything, so it's like I just have been treating that like my job.
But yes, what's Mox Magazine?
Yeah, so Mox Magazine is basically a satirical, high-end couture magazine. So me and Keith Johnson, we created it basically to be able to like share our context. We wanted to write articles, we wanted to make videos, we're gonna attach a podcast to it, and we wanted to do fun little like filler pieces like the how to like group text and here's your tarot card. So we wanted to have all this different content, but we wanted to like have it on one like platform. So we're like, dude, like let's just create our own like fake magazine, and then just like it just kept snowballing and snowballing and snowballing, and then
dude, it's so massive. Like when I saw you post it, I was like, what the fuck is this? And I went to the link, and I was like, oh my god, there's so much fucking content.
Yeah. We really, and like we're already working on like volume 2, and we're actually we're developing the whole entire Mox magazine like into like a pilot, or like eventually trying to. So we're just like shooting like a couple like scenes, but so we want to do it as like a show where it's like it's kind of like The Office meets The Devil Wears Prada. So it's we're coming into this Mox magazine and seeing like the culture of the different people who run it, but then we're also seeing the different celebrities that the journalists interview, like all the different chaotic people and characters you would meet, like if you were a journalist for like Vice or Vogue or whatever. So
well, dude, it's super funny. Everybody should check it out. moxmagazine.com. moxmagazine.com. Check that shit out. You will not be disappointed. And it's like, dude, it's like such a fucking good like I just
tell me what part you liked about what I did the most. No, I'm just kidding.
The K-Flay or the K-Nasty interviews. That was fucking great. Because I didn't know that was you at first. I was like, who is this person? I was like, oh, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah. So many people were like, is that you? And I was like, how are the eyeballs not a dead-ass giveaway? I have the biggest bulging eyes ever. So I thought and then so many people messaged me. They're like, that's you? And I'm like, yeah, bitch, I'm motherfucking K-Nasty. But yeah.
So yeah, everybody check that out. But this is the Dating is Hard podcast. And like I said, normally how I meet people through the show is through dating apps.
Right.
Have you used dating apps before?
I have. I used it once in New York City because I had moved there and I didn't know anybody, and I was like, I need compliments. So like, I need to get a dating app. I was like, I don't even have to meet these people up, but I was like, I need people to tell me I'm pretty, tell me my bio was funny, and tell me that they can't wait to meet me, and then I'll flake out.
Never meet them.
Yeah. It's like, and then I'll flake out. But I just need that energy.
Dude, I saw a study that was both men and women were polled on why they use dating apps, and men and women, like the most common response was just because they were bored.
Yeah.
But for women, the second most one was like ego boost.
Yeah.
And men, that was the last one.
Really?
Like, yeah, dude, guys.
Yeah.
If you go on there as a man trying to get an ego boost, unless you're like a model or something.
Right.
Dude.
Yeah. No, that honestly
sudden.
makes, I mean, I was like joking, but that means I'm the type of person, I like to be mentally stimulated. So a lot of times, like I was saying, like I've never had a one night stand. Not judging anybody who does, but it's just my thing. It's just my thing. I don't like having sex with people that I don't know. Imagine that.
For one night and then never talk about it.
Yeah, but I love to be mentally stimulated. So it's like I can talk to people like forever and forever and forever. And people are like, do you want to meet up? And I'm like, oh, I just like talking to you. Like, I just like having pen pals. I'm like, remember pen pals? Why don't we have pen pals anymore? Like, that's just what I need. It's a pen pal.
Oh, pen pal. A dating pen pal.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh, you won't believe what date did I went. It's like, I'm trying to date you.
Yeah. He's like, I'm trying to hang out with you. And I'm like, dude, I just like talking to you once in a while. Like, come on. And then it's great that we never meet each other and never know each other, because then it's like we could just say whatever we want to each other and not have to deal with consequences.
So did you never go on a date with someone?
I did. I'm like, oh, no, I did.
Oh, boy, did I.
Oh, okay. Okay, so the first one that I went on, the first Bumble date I ever went on, am I allowed to tell a story? Or is this the time? Yeah. You're like, you're not allowed to talk.
No, dude, it's really fucking... We talked about your stupid fucking magazine for like...
You literally had a knife up to my throat. It's like, talk about
Can
Mox.
I talk?
Yeah.
My first Bumble date.
Are you okay? Bumble date. Okay, it's not all about you, Joe. So I met this guy, and it was crazy because like his pictures, I was like, he was handsome, attractive. We got along like in the text. He got my sense of humor. I was like, this guy's dope. And then I was like, am I just going to nail it? I was like, my first ever Bumble date. I was like, this was easy for me. I was like, I feel like people struggle with online dating. I was like, because they probably don't vet them enough through the texting. And I'm like, I talk and write so much. I was like, I just know how to vet people better. I'm nailing online dating. I show up. I see the guy sitting at the bar. He looks exactly like he does in his photo.
Well, that's nice.
And I was like, dude, I am killing this. I was like, what is everybody complaining about? I was like, I'm about to find my husband first try. Like, come on. And then I sit down and I am like, hey, how are you? And he's like, has the most flamboyant voice. Like,
do an impression.
Just, I feel bad, but he was just like, hey girl, like, yes, like, it is so nice. And I thought he was doing a bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's fucking with me. Like, wouldn't it be so funny if I talked like this? And the bit never ended. And I was like, okay, this is serious. But also, I had 2 drinks. So we had met up for 45 minutes total, because I texted my sister, like, here. Mm-hmm. And then from that time to the time we left, in 45 minutes, he had 8 beers.
Jeez.
8. And then I'm like, he parked his car like farther away or whatever. And then I'm like driving him like to his car. And he's like, do you want to get some liquor? And I'm like, no. And then he's like, you're lucky you're not a Muslim woman right now, because I would just grab you and kiss you.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I don't get that. Like, I guess because like Muslim women are oppressed, or like in...
That's the bit.
But like not here, they're not, or mostly, I don't know. But it's like, you could be regular and Muslim, you know, it's like, that's a culture.
He could also just grab you and kiss you.
Yeah. But I was like, also, no. Yeah. Like, I clearly don't like you. It was a 45 minutes, and you're... And his dad was literally a pastor. I was like, bro, you're obviously a closeted homosexual.
Yeah.
You just can't say, because you're going to go to hell. But I'm like, don't waste my time if that's how... You're gay. You are gay. And I was like... And then I did one other Bumble date, or I did a few others, but another time I was in LA, and this guy, same thing. He was a editor for like books, like I was like, ooh, I was like, daddy's a real adult. And he was like attractive, all this stuff. And then, not that that's, I'm like, good job, attract, but he was cool. And again, same good vibes. Show up, we're at a wine bar in Los Feliz. And then somehow politics get brought up.
Oh boy.
And he's one of those, and I'm not I'm the most diplomatic, moderate, like, I'm the type of person, I'm like, I could see this, I could see that. Like, obviously, if people are like, fuck a race or something, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna be diplomatic. But it's like, my brain could be like, oh, I see what you're doing.
Like, if somebody told you, like, that they voted for Trump, you're like, oh, okay, I could understand why a person may have voted for Trump.
Right, or I could at least listen to why they did. I'm not going to hear it and be like, fuck you, you're not my person. I'm like, that's... So, basically, I was saying basically that. I was like, I think it's ridiculous. I was like, that I've been on Bumble, and I'm swiping through people, and people's little bio is like, if you voted for Trump, swipe left. And I'm like, so you want to change a whole entire political party's views, but you can't change one person's mind?
Yeah. So
if you can't change one person's mind, how do you think you're going to change the millions of people's views that are opposing to your, like, do you understand what you're doing? And so I was like, well, that's stupid. I was like, you got to be, like, more open-minded. I was like, in order to correct a problem, you have to know what the problem is, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he was like, no, and just, like, kept, like, going off. And he's like, Hillary Clinton this. And I was like, you know you don't know her, right? I was like, she's not your mom. I was like, the way you're defending her is if I just called your mom a bitch.
Yeah.
I was like, that's weird. And so I was completely turned off by him. And then he kept doing a Batman impression. He's like, people tell me I do a really good Batman impression. And I was like, well, I'll let people tell you that. Like, I don't want to be.
I'll just take other people's word for it.
Yeah, I'll take other people's word for it. I believe you. We're at a bar. Like, there's Halloween.
But he just kept doing it?
He kept doing it. And then, like, when I was, like, ordering my Uber and he was, like, waiting for me, like, outside, like, with me. And he wasn't, like, creepy about it, but he was, like, kind of, like, pushing me, like, in the back of the shadow, like, in the darkness, which sounds more creepy than what it was.
You're not painting a good... You're like, it wasn't creepy.
It wasn't creepy. He's just pushing me in the alley.
Into the dark.
Yeah. And then he was like, yeah, so people think I'm bad. And he was, like, doing the whole bit. And I was like, two girls like this? I was like, are you preparing for Halloween? Because it's literally not. It's, like, January.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... And then after that, I was like, I'm deleting this. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore.
It's always funny to hear, like, what guys think is like, this'll get them.
Especially for me, because I'm and I'm like, dude, the best. I was like, just be completely honest. You know how many times I've told a dude where I'm like texting with him, I was like, hey, I'm just being honest. Like, I want to meet you up, but, like, I don't know if I like you that much to meet you up. Like, I think I need more time. If that's annoying to you, I get it. You don't have to keep talking. Like, my thing is, like, if you're just completely fucking transparent, that's gonna be the best time you're gonna have anything with anybody, whether it's a boss or whether... So many bosses where I'm like, yeah, I'm just late because I'm just late. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
sorry, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm quite familiar with your tardiness.
You're like, hey, 3:15, are you still coming? I'm like, dude, I'm fucking dumb. Like, I forgot. Yeah. That's me. But I'm very honest. That's all I can do. Yeah.
So what did you look for, like, when you're looking to date somebody? Like, what's your type? What do you look for?
I definitely don't have a type. Like, if you arranged all the men that I've ever, like, dated in my life, there'd be no, like, through line. Same. Yeah. The thing that's, like, just the most important to me is someone who completely... I always say this. It's like, everybody's fire, right? So it's like, I have my fire, you have your fire. When people see your fire, they either try to put it out because they're scared of it. They're like, I don't want this fire. You know what I mean? Because it's scary. It's a fire. So you try to put it out. Or when you see a fire, you know, there's, like, kids, little pyromaniacs or whatever, and they start fucking with it and they get burned. And you're like, that's what you get when you fuck with fire. Or smart people see the fire and they're like, I'm just going to let it be and I'm just going to get warmth by it or cook up some motherfucking hot dogs on it. Like, that's what you do with people's fire. But a lot of people try to put your fire out or a lot of people get burned by your fire. And you're like, so if someone just, like, lets me be and I'm like, don't try to, you know, change me. Don't try to contain me. Don't try to use me for your own thing. Like, just honesty and if they get my vibe and, if I know that they're constantly just trying to evolve in life, I'm still unattracted to people who just, like, do the same, like, their life isn't going anywhere, and that sounds fucked up, but I'm like, you got one life. It needs to constantly get better. Your mental health, your emotional health, your career, your spirituality, like, your intelligence, like, all that shit should be going up, like, and if I see people and I'm just like, ugh, and they tap out certain, you know, markets or ages in their life, and I'm like, it's really unattractive to me.
Yeah, that always is like, I would talk to so many women on dating apps and just be like, so what do you do? And they're like, oh, I just have this job. I'm like, what are you passionate about? Like, what do you do? What's your life about?
Right.
And they're like, I don't know. I just fucking.
That's very unattractive.
I can never understand that, because it's like we have jobs and then we go out and do comedy. We're doing like two fucking jobs.
But even comics are like that too. Like there are comics who I know who are just like, yeah, like, you know, I just want to like make some money on the road, or they're just so passionate about comedy, but it's like, okay, that same desire to want to evolve in comedy, you should have that same desire with your health. You should have that same desire with your, you know, learning capability. It's like every area in your life, you should have the desire to want to evolve and develop. I'm like, your passions are just one thing. You know what I mean? I'm always like, I'm going to do ayahuasca. I'm going to fucking meditate for 8 hours today. Like, I just try different things because it's like, yeah, I do want to be the best version of myself in every capacity. You know?
Are there a lot of dudes out there that you've come across that are just like, I just come home from work and watch Netflix?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
That
like,
fucking blows my mind. I could never do that. I just get so antsy.
Yeah. And I don't want to be one of those people like, I never watch TV. But it's like, I really don't.
Yeah.
Like, if I do watch something at night, it'll be on my laptop, and it's usually like YouTube clips, and it's like research or something. I'm like, how did they make the first gun? And I'm like, and then I'm doing that for 2 days. And then the next day, I'm just like, so how did magicians get their job? Like, it's like, it's just my brain being like, I don't know how this works. I want to know. And like, that's the content that I like. Or I like documentaries and
Dude,
stuff.
I mean, since quarantine started, I've watched more TV than I ever have in my entire life, and it's fucking making me sick.
And a lot of it's just, ugh.
Yeah, it sucks, dude. It's just like, I feel like such a slob and like not doing anything, because there's so much to do, but like we can't do anything right now.
And that's fine. I think there are certain comedies, or there are certain things that I'm like, I love this show. Like, I love 30 Rock. Like, I can watch it all the time. I love Summer Heights High. I do love Louis' show, and I don't care. I don't care anybody else can say.
See, I didn't get Louis' show at the first, like when I first watched it, I was like, this isn't funny.
See, it's like the first time I watched it, I cried. I was like, this it, because like when I write my show, you're like, you don't have a show. I was like, my television show is like this. You're like, you don't make money.
Who do you think you are?
I'm confused, little girl. But I either write, like, my tone is either I love like the tragic comedies, like kind of like what Phoebe Waller-Bridge and like Louis did, or even like Ricky Gervais with the Afterlife or whatever his new show is. Or I love like big ensemble, like character situational comedy, like 30 Rock, The Office, Parks and Rec. But I feel bad, but it's like, I get why everybody loves Parks and Rec. I get why everybody loves The Office. They're not my favorites. 30 Rock to me, like out of those three shows, those are like those big cult, like everybody loves. It's either 30 Rock or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like those are shows.
Dude, It's Always Sunny. I met somebody that was like, I just don't get it. It's Always Sunny. I was like, what is there to get?
Yeah. See, that's how I felt when you said Louis. I was like, it's so good.
Well, I went into it because I loved Louis C.K.'s stand-up, and then I watched the show, and I was like, this isn't
dark.
Anything like
it's
that.
situationally dark comedy to where it's awkward.
It was like, I was interested. It was very interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But I was like, this isn't what that bully episode where the kid bullied him and they followed him home.
Yeah.
I was like,
uncomfortable.
This is so fucking crazy.
Yeah, but it's good. It's like, or like the episode where the girl's like, she sucks his dick, and then she's like, now eat my pussy, and he's like, no, and she's like, eat my fucking, and then like they're arguing. He's like, I'm not gonna eat, and like that's like funny, but it's like you could tell that really happened to him or something at one point in his life. Or he's like, wouldn't that be funny if a woman was aggressively like, eat my fucking pussy, you piece of shit? You're like, that's hilarious. Like,
there was another episode where it was like, he was having sex with a woman and she like
when he goes
blueberries or something. Yeah. I was like, what the fuck is he?
I love it. I love it so much. One of my favorite episodes is I think is it season 1 episode 4 or it's season 2 episode 4? Not that I haven't remembered. So they're just like, it's kind of like the C storyline. So you know how he does like stand up is like a storyline, and then he'll have like another thing, and then he'll just have like a repeating like bit or whatever. And the repeating bit is there's 3 different scenes with a therapist, and he's like talking to the therapist, and he's like, yeah, like, I don't know. He's like, it's just like really hard to like make friends like as an adult. And the therapist is like, because you're fat? and he's like, wait, what? No, I don't think I'm fat. And he's like, you don't have any friends because you're fat. And he's like, dude, no. And then it's like, boom, goes the rest of the show. And then another like little scene, the therapist, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I just feel like intimacy is like really hard for me. Like, it's hard for me to be with a woman. And the therapist is like, sex is easy. You meet a woman, you have sex with her, you ejaculate, and then she dies. And then he goes, what? And he goes, oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about something else. What were you saying? And I'm like, dude, this is so, it's just completely my vibe, my humor. I'm just like, I literally cried when I first saw that show. I was like, I love this so fucking much. It's one of my favorite. That show and Summer Heights High and 30 Rock are probably my favorite top 3.
But those are all very fucking different shows.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm a unique fucking person.
Wow, you've got
Joe.
like a lot going on, Monarey.
I got fucking trauma, okay, bro?
You've got like layers and shit.
Yeah.
Wow, everybody listening.
Yeah, everybody. Remember that Mox Magazine thing I said? Check out my layers, bro. Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. So you used Bumble. Did you ever use anything else?
I used Bumble, and then I actually used to work for a matchmaker.
Oh.
Yeah.
What did you do?
I basically did like cold calls on people who inquired.
Hey, are you fucking lonely, loser?
Yeah. Well, they were technically hot leads, as my boss would say, because there are people who hit up the website inquiring like information, and they would like fill out like a little questionnaire, and then I would then reach out to them after that. And I'm like, hey, and like do a little interview, and then all the guys were like, can I go on a date with you? And I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, no, I'm married, but I wasn't, but I would say that. But I'm like, there's tons of girls that are just like me here, but they're all gold diggers.
Yeah.
Because it's called model MQI, Model Quality Introductions. Yeah, MQI in Beverly Hills. They're great.
But I'm going to shit on them for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, but no, he's great. But you know, if models is in the title, you can kind of tell like the kind of client, like Model Quality Introduction. So it's rich men.
Oh, it was about models.
Yeah. And
I thought it was like model, like a model citizen.
No.
Okay.
So it's called Model Quality Introductions, or at least I think that's what they meant, because the girls I met, you know. But so basically both the men and women fill out questionnaires, so you could really get an assessment of being able to tell, like, you're just trying to fuck, or you're just trying to meet someone rich. And so we literally would match up people based on their priorities. If someone's like, I just want to have fun, and like, yeah, I'll spoil a girl, and a girl's like, I just want to have fun, and like, I'd love to be taken care of. It's like, okay, well then we wouldn't put a guy who just wants to spend money with a girl who's like, I'm really looking for love. Like, we would never like match like those kind of people up. But it's like, yeah, there are some people who there's some people who prioritize comfort in life, and all they want to do is work their job and come home, watch Netflix, go to bed. And there's some people in a marriage or love, they prioritize fun, or they prioritize love and a real genuine connection, or some people just prioritize like, I just need a good teammate. Like, I want to be best friends. I don't ever want to feel jealousy or insecurity, so I'm going to date someone who doesn't trigger my fucking insecurity. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has a different, you know, lineup of like what is important to them.
How many people were on that or using that? A lot?
Yeah, we definitely had. Oh yeah, I mean, he has a very bustling company that's in all different cities, so like Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, Orange County, San Francisco. So it's like, you know, it's basically for men who are successful and busy, and they don't have the opportunity to sit here and be able to sift through girls and then get ditched and whatever. They're like, hey, I'm doing surgery for 14 hours, and if I show up to a bar and the girl's like, let's do tomorrow, it's like, it's kind of annoying. So they go through these type of programs, so this way to ensure some, you know, dependability.
Yeah, I interviewed a girl for this, like way, like one of the first ones I did, who was like a quote-unquote dating coach.
Yeah.
But it was that men that were super busy would hire her to basically just message girls on dating apps for them.
Gotcha.
And I was like, that could be like bad.
Yeah, that could be a problem.
Yeah. Because they fall in love with her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't want to like build up case. So yeah, we wouldn't do anything like that at all. Yeah. But we would just make sure like the girls would basically be kicked out of the program if they ditch, like if it's not an emergency or whatever, where it's like, okay. And same thing with the men, like they have rules too. Like if you are, being a pervert or just being like, you want money, little girl? But it's like if they are two people are like they lined up and you're like, you're both okay with it, whatever. But yeah, a lot of people use the service for sure.
Would you ever use it?
No, because I am the kind of person, and it's probably because I grew up poor, I have a complex with like people helping me financially. So my boss always was trying to get me to, he's like, please, this guy just really, he's like, just go on one date with him, and then and he's cool. Like I still love, shout out Craig. I've never done that with my hands before. I'm so sorry.
I'm so glad that this is not a video podcast.
Yeah, I caught myself and I was like, ooh, okay, take it down.
She did 2 hang looses, everybody. 2 hang looses
so
when she's shouting out Craig.
And she has problems. But no, he's great. But he would be like, he would always try to like get me to go on dates with people, and I'm just like, Craig, no. I just don't. There's something that I don't like about men with money. Like, and I get it. Because and it has nothing to do with them. It's like my complex.
Yeah.
It's me thinking that you think that you're above me, or that you can help me, or that you can save me, or that you know better, or that you're more successful. Like, I just have a complex. I'm sure once I'm more established, like financially in my life, where I'm like, I'm a millionaire bitch, then I wouldn't have a complex about dating successful men. But there's just something about it, because I have dated men with money, like naturally, just like meeting them and then being like, well, do you want me to help you, or like, sweetie, let me just do, and I'm like, do not talk to me like that. Like, yeah, yeah.
Well, what do you think is like the best way to meet somebody then? 'Cause it doesn't seem like you're like a big like dating app person. You wouldn't want to do a matchmaking thing. Was it just like
I just
random?
let it come as it comes. Like, I think I was like, well, that's funny, but I was gonna make a joke. Right, yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I was like, well, the greatest thing about being sexually abused at a young age is that like you just don't have a desire for male attention. At least in my case, I can only speak for myself. So I never was a boy crazy person in general. I've always been like this. I've always been a tomboy. Always liked sports. I never was like seeking. I've never been, and I'm not knocking any girls that are like this. I love all my friends are like girly girls. I love that they love makeup and hair and all that stuff. It's fun. I'm not into it. So I'm just never. Yeah, I'm never like, ooh, like, can we go to the bar? Like, hopefully I meet this guy, or like, do you, like, you know what I mean? It's just not my, I just don't care. So it's like, you know, so many people in my life always think I'm a lesbian. Like, I've had so many, the last guy that I dated was like, he's like, I really do think you're gay. He's like, I want you to know, he's like, I think that's why, and I'm like, I'm not gay. Like, I just don't have...
Where's your dick? Put it in there. See? Oh, I love this. See?
Yum.
You are hooked on this hang loose now.
I don't know why I keep doing it.
I did it again.
Yeah, it's so embarrassing. I have to hate myself. So
I love how you're just like, I was sexually abused as a kid. I'm doing hang loose. That's so embarrassing.
I was like, it was fucking, you know what I mean? Like, you just fucking go through it, and then you're a cool-ass girl. But yeah, I joke around a lot, but it's like, I don't know if that's the psychology behind it, where it's just like, I was like, oh, I had male attention. I was like, and it's not that great. So I just always was like,
not to belittle like abuse or anything.
Yeah, not to, of course, yeah. And it's like, if I want to make, this is my thing too, when people are like, oh, you shouldn't make a rape joke. I'm like, bitch, I was raped. If I could take a fucking rape, I can take a fucking joke. Like, you don't get to tell me I can make it. It's like, that's my fucking thing that I can do.
Yeah.
See how fast I start talking? I was like,
I know,
that's that Puerto Rican.
I know, you're getting...
I was like,
there's no more hang loose now.
Yeah. Now it's this. Yeah. People are like, that's normally what.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be like. The zoom out.
Yeah. Like, okay. But yeah, my mission in life. I know a lot of people, and I think that's great. Again, everybody has their different priorities and different life facets. Yeah. So love and, you know, marriage is like really important to some people, and they want to start a family, and that's awesome. It's just not on my radar. I don't want kids, you know. Yeah. I'm cool with being a stepmom as long as an ex-wife is pretty fucking cool.
And not as hot as me.
Yeah, she's gonna be a little chubby. No, no, but I always say I don't want kids, but it's like I'm a person to be like, never say never. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure. I'm 33 years old. Like, I'm pretty sure I know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm at the point now where, like, I've always been saying that I don't want kids, and it's kind of like, people are like, oh, it's gonna,
he's gonna change.
It's like,
I'm like,
I
I'm
always say the only
33.
reason I want kids is so that I can have grandkids and they'll see pictures of me when I'm young and they're like, whoa, grandpa was hot. Whoa, look at grandpa. And I'll just
Grandpa
be
was
like,
on a fucking trapeze. Is that what it's called? A trapeze?
Trampees? No.
Wait, what are they called?
Trapeze.
Oh, what did I? Oh, I said trapeze. I'm like a trapeze. You're like, oh, you're dumb.
Oh, go back to the farm.
The little orphan. She doesn't know words. You didn't go to college, little girl. I thought trapeze would be a word that you learn. Trapeze?
Trapeze. There's no N.
Trapeze.
Okay. Yeah.
Trapeze.
Yeah.
I don't like that word. I think that's stupid and ridiculous. I'll tell you that.
Okay, well, take it up with the circus.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. But yeah, so I naturally just like meet people like when it happens, and I'm like so fucking charming. So it's just like, I'm kidding. Did you think I was serious?
No, absolutely
Okay,
not. I mean, I've met you.
I've met you. I know you're an asshole. But yeah, so when it happens, it happens.
I mean, I'm sure there's some people that are just like, oh god, this woman will definitely verbally abuse me.
Oh yeah.
And I'm so into
there's
that.
so many men who hate me.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. They're like, she's
But
either
they hate
really
you,
annoying.
but they love being. You know, have you ever been in some?
There's men who want to discipline me with their dick. If that's
No,
what you
I'm
mean.
saying that they want to be
I'm like,
humiliated by you.
Oh yeah. Oh,
You think that? Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. I have tons of guys that I'm like, okay, and I'm like, I don't know.
Text you at 3 a.m, like, tell me when I'm over.
Or I'm just like naturally doing it, like joking around or whatever, and I'm like, hey, you dumb piece of shit, and they're like, and then I know, I'm like, oh, you like that I abused you. At first they're like, you're just so funny, and I'm like, no. I'm like, no, you're creepy. I was like, you like pee on Legos and some weird shit or whatever.
Okay, well,
I was like,
okay.
you know what you do.
Pee on Legos. I think they're just like, I saw Legos in Joe's apartment. Now I'm going to be like, this guy pees on Legos.
I'm assuming he pees on them. I was like,
Yeah,
I saw your Legos.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. You know,
I'm
don't
just
kink
saying.
shame.
Yeah. But there are a lot of guys that I feel like definitely would be like, I would never date her. A lot. They'd be like, that's been a sincere problem in relationships where like, you talk too much.
Yeah, I felt bad when you were like talking my ear off before this, and I was like, I need to get this girl water or something. Like, her mouth has got to be dry.
You're like, she won't. I did Kazim's podcast. Our podcast ended at like 8:00, and I left at like 11:30. And he's just like, and I'm like, and I anytime I live with like a roommate, like there's times where like I follow them to the bathroom. I don't even know like I'm
really?
doing, because I'm like just still telling a story, and they're like, Monarey, like I'm going to pee, like just okay, and I'll just be outside the door, like, so then he said, and they're like, no, little girl, like you get. But then what's crazy is then I'm the complete opposite. I cannot talk to people for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
Like no, like when I don't want to talk to people, and people will see me at mics, and I'm like, and they're like, hey, and they're so used to that energy, and I'm like, oh, I forgot I'm a psycho. Like, yeah, I'm in my mode where don't talk to me.
Just go on. It's like, are you all right?
Yeah.
Like,
people do it all the time. They're like,
fuck?
are you okay? And I'm like, I don't. Get away from me. Do you understand? Get away from me. Yeah, I'm a psycho. That's not fun today for anybody.
Oh god. Well, what is? So like, what do you think? Like, if someone were to want to date you, like, what do you think is like your best qualities? Like, if someone is in a relationship with you, what would be like, oh, that person's lucky to be dating me because I bring this to the table?
I would say that definitely, like, I challenge people, like, in, like, the best way. Definitely, probably not in some good ways where they're like, oh, I really
like what?
Don't want to hit a woman, but you're making this really hard.
This is really challenging.
Yeah,
I feel good. I'm up for this challenge.
I am not hitting her, and that's a success today. But yeah, probably. One time I threw a taco at my ex's face, and I remember being like, I'm about to get hit, and I'm going to take full responsibility, and I will not tell anybody because I deserve this.
Dude, it's so funny because I have a bit in my act where I talk about an ex threw a lamp at me when I broke up with her.
Oh, I threw a lamp. Not at him, but I just threw a lamp.
But as I was breaking up with this different girl, she was like, I could totally understand why someone would throw a lamp at you. And I was like, I made that up. That's not real.
I made that up, you stupid bitch. Yeah.
And she was just like, well, I want to throw a lamp at you, and I'll make this fucking thing come true.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay, let's not.
So, but you've never had anything thrown at you?
I had a girl throw a sock at me. I had a girl intentionally have sex with somebody that I knew because she wanted me to find out. And
that's psychotic.
Yeah, that was not...
Yeah.
And I did the thing where, like, everything that was in my apartment of hers, I put it in a box. I took it to her apartment, rang the doorbell, and then left.
Oh, good.
And then so she took the box.
Yeah.
came to my apartment, broke into my apartment.
Ooh, naughty.
And she just was like, no, it's not ending like this. We're not doing this. And I kept dating her for like an
yeah, and you're like, and then
I was like,
for
whoa,
5 years.
She broke into my apartment? That's pretty fucking
Yeah,
hot.
you're like, that's pretty naughty, and I like it.
Yeah.
Next time, come in lingerie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never like hit a guy or anything, but I've definitely thrown things in rage where it's like, and that's like my highest like.
What did you throw?
Right, I threw a lamp. That's what I'm saying.
You threw a lamp? Did it
yeah,
break?
not at the person. Yeah, I mean it like broke the like light bulb, but like the rest of it was fine. So it's like you have to get new light bulbs anyway.
Yeah. Did you have to like throw it at the wall or the floor?
I threw it at
or
the
what?
wall. Yeah. And I had a really good reason, which I'm not gonna tell the story on the podcast because it's a little dark.
Yeah,
And then like another time when like me and my ex were arguing like one time, and we were eating Taco Bell, and he was just in, you know, like some people I'm like, ooh, I don't know what it is, but it's like when they know how to like get you, and I'm like, and I'm usually really good at being like, I could be calm, I could be chill, but then there's just certain people where I'm just like, oh my God, and I'm like I will, it's like, I can't control the rage, and it happens like twice a year or something but he was doing one of those things, and I had the taco in my hand, and he was just like eating it and like just digging, and I just went wham and like whipped the taco right in it. And it was a soft taco, but I'm saying,
okay, it's
like a soft chicken taco, and I just like whipped it right in his face, and I just remember like the cheese and everything hitting him, and just being like, I'm about to get hit, and I'm like, and I'm gonna let him do it.
I'm about to get
I'm gonna let him do it. Yeah, I'm not gonna call the cops. I'm gonna put on some concealer. I totally get this is gonna go down. And he didn't hit me, and I was like, you're a good guy. You're a good guy. But I was like, I don't need like therapy, like sadness. I need like rage control.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could.
But I'm so nice. That's like crazy.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
This is the first time that I've actually like talked to you long form. The other times, like I was telling her before the podcast, like the only other times I remember talking to you was like
Change your life, right?
Was when fucking comic Kevin Tinkin tried to like talk about my abs in front of you, and you were just like, so what, do you fucking have abs?
Yeah,
I was like, I guess. And then you said that Rob Smallwood was like making fun of your pants or something.
Yeah,
You're like, are these pants normal? And I was like, yeah, they're fine.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Aside from like,
right.
I forgot to mention that in the intro. Former contestant on the Dating is Hard game show.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Did you win? Who won?
No, the girl who did the nose thing.
Oh,
I mean,
Natasha.
in terms of like best son. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm kidding.
But yeah, dude, fucking have you ever thrown a glass of water in someone's face?
No.
Dude, that's the best feeling.
Oh yeah.
I did that to a couple girls that I was dating.
Really?
Well, I did it as a joke for a couple of them, but then like one girl, I was like, "You're just out of line."
Yeah.
She said this like super racist thing, and I was drinking a glass of water, and
wait, she said racist thing to you being a white person, or she said a racist thing about somebody else, and
she said a racist thing about my best friend who's black.
Oh no, hell no, yeah.
And then I was drinking water, and then I just went. And
yeah,
I was like, don't ever fucking do that again.
Yeah, because I was about to say, I was like, I don't think there's a reason to throw a glass. I'm not saying that I'm any better throwing tacos at people's faces, but I was like, yeah, you probably shouldn't throw a water. And then when you're like, great, I'm like, yeah, then that's a.
It was like an insult to my best friend, and I was like, I don't fuck with that.
Yeah, you're like, calm down. Yeah. I've had that same ex that I threw a taco in his face. He also took a coconut water one time and just like dumped it over my head, like.
That's a sign of a great relationship.
Or a sign of Los Angeles that it's like coconut water. We're dumping over each other's heads.
That's true.
Yeah, it's very bougie.
Me and an ex of mine used to just like get into water fights where it'd be like we'd throw water. She'd turn on the sink and like start splashing me.
Right. Like as a joke or like
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like it was funny. Like
yeah.
Okay, I probably
that's
sound like an absolute psycho, like abusive boyfriend.
No, I was like, at first I was like, you're like, yeah, I throw water in girls' faces all the time, and I'm like, bro, we got mascara on, calm down.
No, it was always like a joke, except for the racist girl. Like, it was like,
oh, she deserved it then.
One time, one of my girlfriends, she was like coming out of the bathroom. I was like, I'm gonna surprise her, and I just like, I was just gonna throw it like at her in general, but it went right into her face, and she was like, what the fuck? And then we got into a water fight, and everything was fine.
That's fine. Yeah.
You ever do anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm usually like pretty like playful. I always make my boyfriends wrestle me for fun, and then I get really competitive.
Dude,
that's like always, guys are always like, dude, just don't wrestle with girls, because it's like then we get like a little hurt, and then we have to be like, I have to show you I have my own power. Just because you're a man doesn't mean you get to dominate me. And then it's like, he's like, dude, can we just come on, like let's, and I'm like, no, best of 3. And he's like, dude, I'm gonna win all 3. Like, come on. And then it's like, then I think he's like fake letting me win, and then I'm like, now we gotta start all over. So yeah,
I was in like kind of a kink dominant sub relationship with this one girl, and she was like, I want to wrestle you, like, and it was always like, let's wrestle. Yeah. And it was like, she was 5'2" and weighed 100 pounds. Yeah. I would just throw her around, and she loved it. Like she was just like, but she thought, some women think that they can actually like do damage, and
I'm one of them. I'm one, and then it's just like, and then once I see them kind of like use like their real power like a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, I'm like, this is stupid, I want to play.
Whatever, you're dumb anyway.
I was like, you're like sweaty, get off me, ew. Take a shower.
Jay Okerson had a great joke about his girlfriend. They were watching UFC, and his girlfriend was like, I could never date a guy like that. He could just like haul off and beat the shit out of me. And Jay was like, I could beat the shit out of you.
Yeah. Do you get that,
Do you
sweetheart?
think that I can't?
Yeah,
Is that the only reason you're in a relationship with me? Because you think that
you're safe? Yeah. No.
Yeah, dude, it is fucking... So do you have any, like, okay. All of that aside. Yeah. What do you think is a good idea for a first date? Like, if someone asks you out and they're like, let's go to this place, what would you want it to be?
If I'm being, like, the most honest, I hate dates. Yeah. I do not like going on. That's why I never want to, like, be online dating. Because I'm like, I don't like meeting a stranger that I've never met before and then having to do an activity. Yeah. It just seems, like, dumb to me. So I'm just, and I get it. If people have to do it, live your life, live your truth. Some people like it. They like strangers. They like the mystery behind it, and I'm like, no. Like, before I bought my Vitamix blender, I did research on it for 3 years. Like, I'm a type of person, I'm like,
3 years?
Yeah, like for fun. I'm like, for fun, dummy.
Fun. Yeah,
like, what was it?
Idiot. Don't you research blenders for fun? No, I do that shit with, like,
if I'm buying
all
anything,
of this stuff, the guitars, like my cameras.
Yeah, I have to just do research. So it's like, for me to meet a stranger that I think I'm gonna have sex with one day, it's like, I really gotta, like, vet the person. And the best way to do that is to get to know the person. So basically, always my phase or my habits is I become friends with the person, and then they don't know that I'm assessing them the whole entire time. And then I'm like, oh, you're being assessed, but they don't know. And then if I'm like, okay, I would like, and then it's just like,
are you the person to be like, hey, I am interested in you, or like I want to date you, or is it like that guy eventually is like,
it just naturally what? Like, no, I don't. If he was like, hey, trick or treat,
guess what? You've been assessed as well.
Yeah. I'd be like, we're done here. But I think I just like let it. I guess I'm progressive in terms of where I don't like the normal. Again, for me, other people, I don't like the normal tactics of dating. So what I try to do is, like I said, be the most like honest and sincere and start like a friendship with someone. And then if it just naturally goes that way, it like naturally goes that way. But I think both people know at the same time that it's like naturally like happening. And then just communicate like, hey, like, I'm in this position. I don't want to be in a relationship, or I'm in this position. I just want to be with someone 2 times a week. It's like, I'm very transparent about that, because it's like, I've made a lot of mistakes, and I've definitely heard a lot of people not being honest and transparent. And I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore.
They have to be in it for the long haul. Like you're doing a long con with people.
Right. It's not necessarily like every single person is going to be a relationship, but it's like, if you do have like that open communication and like a real like friendship, then it's like, who knows, that person could just be a person that you're just like, hey, until you meet your person, you guys have fun and you have sex and you respect each other and you like spending time together, then that's fine. It's like, I think a lot of times the most unsuccessful relationships, or the times people get hurt the most, is when we put our expectations on the other people, and then you just get disappointed. But if both people were able to have the freedom to be like, hey, like, I naturally not going to fall in love with you. I think you're great, but like, I don't have that chemistry with you, but I think you're an awesome person. I enjoy you about 2 times a week, or whatever. You don't say exactly that. Like, you're a 2-time-a-weeker. Trevor. Now he's a 4-time-a-weeker. Okay,
Oh,
like
Trevor.
No,
Ray. Great
Trevor.
name
Yeah.
for your. I would never. If I found out that you were dating someone named Trevor, I'd be like, no.
I did date a guy named Trevor.
What is wrong? Was this in high school or something?
No, this was out here. Yeah, this was.
Wow.
But he's not. Yeah, I know. You're thinking like Trevor. Not that kind of Trevor.
My cousin had a dog named Trevor, and that was my first exposure to the name Trevor. And then I knew a guy in high school who was a douchebag named Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor does sound like a really douchebag name, but this guy's like, he's a really good person. He's like married now, but whatever. But he's
well, good for fucking Trevor.
Good for Trevor, a little fucking show off, and he has an adorable dog. Yes.
Is his dog named Trevor?
I don't know.
That'd be so narcissistic.
Yeah, he's like, you're Trevor.
Hey, what's up? I'm Joe. This is my dog, Joe.
Joe.
But again, I'm Joseph Welkie the third.
The third? Oh.
There we go.
You're that kind of white family.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I.
That's
how
your
I do
ideal
it.
first date is not at all.
Yeah,
it's
not
to just
at
be
all.
chill with somebody.
Well, people ask me out or whatever. I'm just like, no. Like and I'll be honest. I'll just be like, I don't like dates. Like if you're interested in me or whatever, it's just like I don't do. It's so funny because when I think about all the men that I've dated, I'm like, I don't know how they got through to me. Like I don't know how, but it's just like it just naturally like progressed to where it's just like it was from this, and then it just like like obviously my ex was like a stand-up comic, so it was like kept being around each other, blah blah blah, and then just like naturally like happened, and then the person before that we were co-workers, so it's just always naturally happened to me. I'm not.
You're just always shitting where you eat.
Yeah. Well, and I told you like I don't like to. It's never like my motivation for the day or the month or the year is never like I want to get married. There are people who are like that. That's great. So they're probably going to be more active on dating websites or like, trying to meet and mingle with people. But for me, that's just not one of my active goals. So I think sometimes when you aren't as active, it's like with that, it's like if it falls on your lap, you're like, okay. And then if not, I'm like, I'm chilling.
So would you say that you've never been on a date though?
Oh, I have.
Okay.
I remember like the one being like, I'll never, like I said, like I
even
did,
the
like,
people that
dates.
you, sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're fine. Don't do it again, but whatever.
Like the people that you dated, did you eventually go on dates with them? Like,
oh yeah, like
okay.
If we're already like it's not like I'm like we're only allowed to stare at each other's eyes in the apartment. Let me see your soul. It's not like anything weird like that.
What's the best date that you've ever been on, you think?
I think one of the really good dates that I went on, and I'm still really good friends with this guy too, who we ended up like dating more serious. We went to dinner in Los Angeles, and we went to this place called Sir, but it was like a long time. This is like 2008, before it was like that show Vanderpump Rules.
Yeah. And
we sat at a table, and like Madonna was right next to us, and I was like, I was like, that's fucking Madonna. And then, like, because I was obsessed with Madonna and Janet Jackson and Michael Jackson, like, growing up. Those were, like, my three, like, gaga.
Yeah.
And so just, like, her being there, I just, like, and it's, like, lame, but I was like, okay, like, I know that, like, I'm in the right city at the right time. This is a sign, which sounds weird. But it was, like, an amazing meal. Like, the ambiance was so gorgeous. Like, all the, like, waitresses had these, like, beautiful flowing dresses, and they didn't seem stressed. Because, like, I don't know if you've ever worked in, like, food and hospitality industry. It's, like, it's very stressful. You can tell the people are working really hard, but, like, they had, like, I don't know, extra stat. I don't know how they did it, but, like, the girls didn't write anything down. They're in these, like, beautiful dresses. Their hair was down. They just seemed like good friends, and they're talking to you, and I was like, oh, this is such a good vibe. The decor was so beautiful. The food was good. And then after
I want to make mention that none of this has to do with the person you were on the date with.
Yes, but he was cool the whole entire time. Whereas this was like,
I was like, you're sitting next to Madonna. The restaurant was cool. The waitresses were nice.
Well, I just meant like the bet, but he obviously, because I couldn't have enjoyed any of those things if I didn't enjoy the person, you know. And he's still, this is 12 years ago, he's still one of my good friends. So it's like, but he's super cool. And we just had such good conversations. We were talking about the same things, like being like, this is such cool. And like, we just were on like the same like frequency level where we're like appreciated all these things. It wasn't just like, okay, who are you? Like, tell me about yourself. We're like, this is beautiful. This is amazing. I'm so happy that I get to have this experience. Like, we're both like that. And then, we both love music. He was like into like music production, and so we like took like a long drive and like had like the sunroof like open, and then we were just both like being like, okay, I'm gonna play 3 songs, then you play 3 songs, and then
that's
like
fucking awesome.
yeah, and then we had like our hands just like up in the like sunroof and whatever. It was like a beautiful Los Angeles night, and then we met up with some of his friends at this one nightclub, and it's not there anymore, but it was called Vanguard at the time, and it has like this balcony, and you could look over, and they had like a rave like room, and it was like, I don't know how many people it fits, like 500, but you could just see like all 500 people in these cool lights like dancing, and you just see everybody just like having such a great time. It just felt like very like euphoric, and like we both were and we're like, this is awesome, and then we were like making out. It was yeah, it's probably like one of my most like favorite days.
Yeah, that's fucking
yeah.
That's a hard to top one.
Yeah,
that's
and he's
just like everything was lining up perfectly.
Yeah, and he's such a good soul too, and like we literally, that was like our favorite thing. We would like smoke weed sometimes, and then we'd be like, okay, let's interpret song lyrics. So we would put on a song or whatever, and then we each like write and then we would like read them to each other and be like, okay, like I think this song is saying like this, blah blah blah. Or we would do like dance battles, or like I said, we'd be like, okay, I found these 3 artists, okay, and then he'd be like, we just both like.
Do you remember the 3 songs that you picked when you did your 3 strong, or any of the ones that he did?
I remember. I was like, I feel bad. I remember he showed me, because this is back in 2008. I remember he first showed me who Tiny Tempa was. I remember I first showed him who Miguel, the R&B singer, who's
the guy
now
that jumped over somebody at MTV Awards and like crushed their skull.
Oh, was that Miguel? Did Miguel do that? I thought that was Chris Brown.
No, that was Miguel.
Oh, really? Okay.
He like ran from, there was like a gap in the stage and there was fans in there, and he tried to do a split, and he like just slammed some woman's head.
Oh, that's shows like that's. I don't think I showed him Miguel that time. That might have, because we always would do like artists like things like that. So that might have been like 2 years later, like I started to have him on my radar. But like I know, and then like the Dream, the producer, before, like, because as you know who the Dream is, he's basically done all the bit, like Justin Bieber and like Britney Spears, Beyonce, like all her biggest songs. But he's had 3 albums by himself, and a lot of people like don't know him as like a musician, but like I love him. And
you're so hipster. You say I know of this guy, and like no one's really heard of him, but like you probably have heard his work, but you don't know the man.
You don't know
behind
the individual.
The music.
He's a lot of people don't like him, but I love him. I was like, but a lot of people don't know. But his one album was there's this one song that was like the theme of like my life, and there was like a song that was like called 23. And I remember when I turned 24, I was like, fuck. Well, now that song's not about me now, and I'm like, it's not that serious.
It's like Blink-182. What's my age again?
Yeah.
You couldn't
enjoy it after. Exactly. You're like, I guess this isn't about me, and I don't like that, because it is about me.
It was so much about me when I was 23, just 24 hours ago.
And now that's 10 years ago, which is insane.
Right?
Yeah.
Did any age like hurt
20.
you?
What was that?
Did any age hurt you, like when you turned it?
No. I think like sometimes, like if I'm being honest, I think there's times where it's like being in your like 30s, especially as a woman, people are like, oh, and like I'll get, it's not like an insecurity, but I think sometimes where people always used to say, I'm like, you're like, oh, you're so mature for your age, you're so wise. And now that I'm in my 30s, people are like, oh, that's just 30s.
That's
and I'm
about
like,
right.
I'm like, no. I'm like, wait till you're in your 30s. You're not going to be as mature and wise as me. I was like, this is from hard-earned trauma. Like, you don't get this. But now people just think like I'm so wise because of age. And I'm like, no, fuck you. Like, I was this wise that's the other thing I don't like. And too, people are like, she's young, she's 24. And I'm like, fuck that. I was like, I was living by myself on my own when I was 17, moved out to California at 19, no daddy, nothing. So it's like, I get like annoyed when people are like, they're young. And I'm like, that's not a fucking excuse, but I get it. Most people aren't as amazing as me. I'm kidding.
Well, that's the whole argument now, like, especially with, and like we were talking about this before we started recording, like the Chris D'Elia shit.
Yeah.
Is I kept seeing people being like, the brain isn't even developed until you're 25. It's like, then make the age of consent 25.
Right.
Like, fucking, why are we letting people? Why are we letting people vote? Why are we letting people join? Go to war. Join the police.
Right.
Fucking we let people that are under 25 do a fuckload of
Everything. Drive, drink,
Yeah.
fucking call it. Like, oh, so why do we all sign up for fucking loans to banks at 18?
Yeah. To go to college and
hmm.
make a decision about your entire life, and then you're in debt for the rest of your life.
Right, and
when you're
there's
18.
a reason why they do it. There's a reason why the military come and recruit you in high school and not after your fucking college graduation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a reason why. It's because they're like, you're impressionable and you make mistakes and you're not experienced enough to learn from your consequences. So we gotta fucking tap into that. And what's that word called when you take advantage of that? I was like, what's that word when you
manipulate?
Yeah, I was like, what's that word when you screw somebody over their whole entire life? Yeah.
There's just so much fucking, dude, so much is wrong. Do you have somebody that you consider, back to fucking dating? That was like such a weird off tangent, and
no
I
worries.
felt like,
sorry, my foot fucking fell asleep, so I'm like, fuck. Okay, I'm listening. Yeah.
do you have anybody that you consider as like the one that got away?
No. I'm like, no. I think like there are people that I've had like connections with that I didn't end up just timing wise. I remember when I first was moving out to California, there was this guy that I knew in high school, and he always dated this person, and I was like a virgin, so I was like, I can't touch a boy. And so I was just like, I gotta wait until I'm whatever. Anyway, I'm weird. So then like we ended up reconnecting like at a bar or something. I had a fake idea. So, fake ID. I said fake idea.
Yeah.
But so I met him back up, and then literally I met him like 4 days before I was like leaving to California. And I was like, I'm a going.
Yeah.
And then we had this like good connection, and I know we both were like, fuck. And then he came and visited me out here in California. But at that point, I had fallen madly in love with the first guy that I ever loved, Brandon. No, I'm kidding. Remember me?
Shout out Brandon. No hang loose this time.
He has a kid now. That's my baby. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Oh wait, is that from your joke?
Oh no! That's not him.
Right.
Yeah, that's not him.
Never mind.
Yeah. It's okay. You can say abortion joke, but no, I did not. That's not him. But he does have a baby now, and he's a great guy, and his wife is amazing. She invited me to actually his 30th birthday party, and this is like years after we've been broken up. But we had always been like, again, like I said, I'm pretty much friends with all my exes. And I was like, oh, what a cool badass woman to be like, hey, I know you guys have been friends for 10 years, and he started to date me. Like, I just want to let you know, like, we're having a surprise birthday party for him, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. And I'm like, I literally like started crying. I was like, you were so cool. Like, thank you so much. But yeah, I've never had, if I had to say anyone that like got away or that I thought was like my soulmate, was probably Brandon. Mm-hmm. We met when I was really young. I was 19 and he was like 21, and I remember like sometimes I'd like wake up crying. I was like, I just know we're gonna be broken up one day. And he's like, why are you thinking about that? And I'm like, because I'm 19 and you're 21. We're obviously not gonna be together forever.
Yeah. And
I don't want to be together I don't want that to be my first person forever. Like, and I get it, everybody's different, but I was like, I don't want to just fall in love once and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I dated some people that were like that, where it was like, I know we're gonna break up one day, and it's like, why are you thinking like that? It could happen that we don't.
Right. I think honestly, I just always like know, you know what I mean? And I think it's nice I think it's cool to be like very sincere and be like, hey, like. But he was a person that, like, other people I knew were going to break up, and I was like, you're not my soulmate, but I just know. But, you know what I mean? And that's like when I wasn't honest, where I was like, I like him, but I know I'm not going to ever marry him. And I'm like, then I should start telling people that, you know what I mean? But him, I was like, I would marry him, but I was like, I don't want to be married now because I'm so young. So I was like, I want to be able to pursue my dreams and my goals and then come back later. And that's what happened. We ended up coming back into each other's lives. We were always like friends, and then I feel like we both like dated other people, did all this stuff. Years later, had all these experiences, and then, you know, we at one point like hated each other, and then came full circle. We started to be friends, and then it was like cool, and then we were like best friends, and then it was like, then there was like a connection there, and then there's just like a situation where, you know, we weren't able to, I don't want to say it because now I already said his name, but like he had, no one's gonna know who he is, but he had an incurable thing or whatever, and I was like, yeah, I'm not dealing with that.
Yeah.
And I was just, and not whatever, but it was just, I was like, yeah.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Yeah. But it's fine. I mean, I'm like, start crying. I'm like, no.
Fuck you, Joe.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck you.
What is this podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, this is I say it's called the Dating is Hard
you.
podcast. This is the make every person on this podcast cry.
Yeah, you're like, the comedy community asked me to set up a fake podcast because you need healing, and we have to set it up as a little fucking, interview, so this way you deal with trauma.
See, I find I ask a lot of women that question of like, do you think that you have somebody that like was the one that got away?
Right.
And I find that pretty much all women think like, no,
yeah,
I don't.
Yeah.
Like I've had some women like, I know there are guys that I'm the one that got away. I'm like, okay.
You're like, all right. I'm kidding.
Okay, all right.
You're like, you're annoying, and he let you go and let you think that, so you can get away. But yeah, I think most women probably, like, if they really care about a person or whatever, like, they'll exhaust the option to like make it work. They're like, let's go to therapy, let's do this, so it's like, I think most women, but I think there's times where it's like missed opportunities where it's like you move or whatever and you're like, oh, I wonder whatever happened to that person. But it's funny, that guy that I told you about, like when I moved to California, I am still friends with him. We like reconnected on Instagram like a few years ago, and he's doing like very well for himself, and we're like, it's funny because like we have the same mindset. I could tell and I'm like, it's so crazy that I connected to you when I was 15 years old, and now I'm like 33, and you're like, oh, so it's like you're instant, because people when you're young, they're like, oh, you young kids don't know anything, and you're like, well, clearly we do, because there's a lot of people who so it's like your soul, your energy, whatever, fucking knows something. So it's like, but it's funny because I always was like, am I supposed, like, I had that curiosity, and then like kind of over the quarantine, I'm like, oh no, like I know, like we match up. He's probably like, if he ever listens to this, like, you're a psycho. Like, I don't,
I mean, everyone that's listening to this is like, you're a psycho.
But he like is a person who like, I was like, oh, like I like all these things about you, but then just like I wasn't like even talking to him, just seeing like the content and stuff he was posting. I'm like, okay, you're not my soulmate. Like,
what was he posting?
Just a lot of conspiracy stuff where it's like a lot of the stuff where it's like, yes, it's true, but you're falling into a mind construct of where you constantly think that there's a boogeyman out to get you, or there's all these people like conspiring to what. Yes, there's corruption. Yes, there's greed. Yes, there's like malpractices that happen because of, people want to put synthetic shit in your vitamins because they save money, not because they're all trying to actually physically kill you. If they want to kill you, we can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it put some shit in the sky, you're dead. Put some shit in the water. It's like, we can kill all of us very easily. And they don't make any money if we're all dead. So they like us being around. Yeah. They don't care about you 100%, but I don't think everything traces back to the devil. Like, the devil is a belief system, just like Christianity or Hinduism is a belief system. Why do you think the devil's more powerful than anyone else's belief system? It's like, I know people who worship the devil who live in a trailer. So it's like, just because you worship the devil doesn't mean that it's like the thing that supersedes all the other belief systems. Is just scarier. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you're like, even if it is controlled by the devil, well, he's not doing that good of a job then, because we still have a bunch of like love and light and cool stuff in the world. So you're good. Like, why are you so worried? Like, everybody's a sheep and da-da-da-da-da. It's like, sounds like you're living your life in fear, and it sounds like a bad time. Yeah, dude. And I just don't do that.
So aside from the Batman person,
you're like, back to dating, and I'm like, we need a revolution.
No, the devil's real, but he's not powerful.
He's kind of annoying.
Here, I'm selling crystals on Mox Magazine.
On Mox Magazine. Get them right now. Yeah.
What is just like a silly, ridiculously bad date that you went on where you're just like, what the fuck is with this?
A guy who was an ex-heroin addict.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Please do tell.
Yeah, so I used to work at this restaurant in Beverly Hills where I fucking hate this owner to this day. He's a piece of shit. Ronnie's in Beverly Hills. Have you ever been there? The owner's fine. It's his son, Dave, who runs it. I hope bad things happen to him. Anyway, he used to abuse, like, all the way... Not physically abuse, but, like, he would be like, fuck you, you bitch! Like, he would talk to us like that. Yeah, so... Anyway.
What kind of restaurant was this?
What was
Is
that?
it like a high scale?
No,
upscale?
it was like
high
a
scale. That's how you
high
know I'm
scale.
not fucking like in that world. Is that a high scale
Like,
restaurant?
is it like big steak restaurant? Is it like the good steak? No. So it was like a casual like diner in Beverly Hills. The dad who owned it is great. The son, I don't know if he was like having coke withdrawals. Like he would be cool sometimes, and then he would just snap and yell at you in front of the whole entire restaurant. Like when I quit, it was because he was screaming at me, and I literally took my tip money, and I was like, fuck you, you piece of shit. Like, and I know it sounds crazy, but he literally, like, in front of, it was Monday Night Football, 30 people are in the restaurant, it's a small restaurant, and he's like, you stupid bitch, like, like, yelling at me like that. Yeah. And, like, he had done that to me every day, and I was just, like, I was living in my car at the time, so I'm like, I just gotta take whatever this guy's giving me because I need money. And then I was just like, that's it. And
how long were you working there?
I worked there for, like, 6 months or something.
Jesus.
And I was just like, fuck you, you fat fuck. And I was like, that's why your kids don't fuck. And I just like went, this is in front of an entire restaurant, mind you. And I'm just holding like piles of cash. Like, and people are just like, happy Monday Night Football, assholes. And I just laughed and went in my car and I was like, I was just like crying. But I met this guy there. So he would come in, he was a regular all the time. And so he, like, did the whole thing of, like, getting to know me, which I'm like, good, because it's not going to go down any other way. Mm-hmm. And then one time he calls, and he's like, and I was like, oh, do you want your, like, normal, because he lived right across the street. And I was like, do you want your normal, like, sandwich or whatever? And he's like, oh, actually, I was calling to talk to you. And I was like, oh, what's up? And I was like, oh, did I fuck something up? Or, like, you know? And he's like, no. He's like, I wanted to know if you want to, like, go to the movies, like, sometime. And I was like, okay.
I've gone through my assessment period with you.
And you've actually been approved for one evening. No touching. And so I was like, okay. And I remember I kept trying to cancel because, like, for what I don't like dates. And so I was like, and I just was really honest with him. I was like, I don't know why. Like, I just like want to cancel. Like, like I don't. And he's like, and he was so cool. And he's like, hey, like, I totally get it. Like, you don't really know him. And then I was just like, oh, this guy's so nice. And so I drive to his house, and because I lived in North Hollywood, and I lived in the not cute part, not how like you know, sketch. And then I was like, I don't want him to see that I'm poor. So I drove to his house in Beverly Hills, and and we went to like a cafeteria, like a food court or whatever, mm-hmm. and like got food, and before the movie started, and we're like talking, and then he like keeps like telling me the story about how he's in debt, and I'm like, that's okay, but like that's probably not the first, like it's not the first date kind of combo, you know what I mean? And then he's like, yeah, well, because my dad died, and so I inherited like all his debt. So I have and I'm like, again, it's like, I understand I'm being supportive, and I'm like just trying to be like a good listener, but it's like, it's still making me uncomfortable. Like if I came on a first date, I'm like, yeah, so I did have an abortion, and you're just like, okay, like I'm totally down to hear it or whatever, but it's like, probably, you know, just like, let's do like the normal stuff.
Let's keep it light.
Let's keep it like, get to know you, and like if you guys have great conversation and it naturally comes out, and you're just like, hey, but like it was like, oh, I'm eating, he's like, yeah, my dad died and it's been stressful, and I'm like, oh, okay. And he kept talking about money and debt to the point where like I was like, do you want me to give you like money, like can we split this, or you know, like, and I don't care, like anytime I like date a guy, like usually after like the first time or second time, it's like we always just go back and forth. You pay, I pay. You pay, I pay. Like that's, you know. And then so we go in the movie or whatever. And I'm like, oh god. And we watch James Bond, the one, Quantum Solace, I believe. And we're in the movie theater, and you know, there's like gunshots or whatever. And he kept being like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I was like, they're not shooting at me. It's a fucking movie. Yes, I'm okay with the fake shooting on a television screen. And for whatever reason, that was really bothering me. And then so we are going back, and I have to get my car at his apartment. And he's like, yeah, I paint. And he's like, can I show you my paintings? And I'm like, oh, no, dude. And I know he's not trying to, like, fuck me, but I know he's just, like, this lonely, like, dude. I'm about to sneeze. Hold on.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I'm a big girl. And so he's
That's the
like,
most silent sneeze I've ever seen.
yeah, I'm adorable. Thank you. Sorry,
I
I'm
wouldn't
not
say,
one of these big
didn't
bitch sneezing.
say adorable.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
This is science. It can be proven.
That was like a Anne Frank sneeze.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay, she's a great writer. Hello, everybody knows her stuff. That's me. So I go up to his apartment, and I knew he wasn't giving me like creepy vibes or anything. And so I'm like, oh, this guy's lonely. I was like, let me just look at his fucking paintings, and then I'm gonna go and then never talk to him again. So he's like, yeah. He's like, so this is my painting. He's like, so after I got out of rehab for heroin, he's like, I feel like my creative, and he's just, and I'm like, I'm sorry. Yeah. What was the heroin part?
Yeah.
Did you want? So it's like your dad died. You're $1 million in debt, and now you did hair. And I'm like, and it's not even so much that all happened. It's that he didn't have enough of an awareness to be like, hey, let me like present this info. You know what I mean? Because it's like we all have. Yeah. We all have shit.
You have to present that in like a suave manner. It's not like just first date. That's like a after you know the person. Be like, well, I'm like this because this happened.
Yeah, or just like kind of like I need to know that you're like healed from it. I need to know that you're okay. Like if you're like, yeah, I used to do fucking heroin. Like, okay, I'm a fun time. But you know what I mean? Because then I'm like, okay, I know you're. But if you're like, yeah, I used to do heroin and that's when my creative juices were best. And I'm like, okay, bro, like clearly, you know what I mean? You're not healed. You don't have a sense of humor about it. And that's fine. But it's like, you ain't my person then. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm okay if your dad stabbed you or whatever the fuck, you know, not gonna come home for Thanksgiving with you. But there's just a way you present the information that I'm like, okay. Like,
was the art good though? Were the
paintings?
Oh no. What were they up?
It's just literally like couldn't be more like the classic scene of like, oh, this is my painting, and it's just like
splattering
gibberish. Yeah. Where I was like, dude, I know I don't know art, but like that's not it.
So how did it end?
What was that?
How did the date end?
I was just like, okay, like I'm gonna go. Like,
did he keep coming to the restaurant after that?
I think he did like a couple times, and he was just like kind of all like sad and mousy, and I'm just like, bro, you know, let's be adults. Like, I didn't have a good time. Yeah. Okay? Like, I didn't have a good time.
Yeah.
And that's that.
That happens. I feel like more people need to just be like that, where it's just like, yeah, we weren't the
It's
thing.
a science. It's the same thing. It's like, if you were to run in a race, like, guess what? Somebody has to win. There's only one person. And it's the same thing where it's like, when you date people, it's like, yeah, if you're going to connect and fall in love with each person, then love would be nothing. Yeah. If it was just like, oh, love, it's like, then it would be nothing. Yeah, so it's like, there's a reason why it's hard, and there's a reason why there's a lot of work, and there's a reason why you have to go through multiple partners. It's like, it's a very specific, unique puzzle pieces coming together. And then on top of it, all the psychology and dynamics and time, like, there's so much that has to come into it to make it right. So you're like, it's okay that you didn't get it right. Don't take it personal. Like, it's not you're a bad person, but it's just like, hey, like, we don't, that chemistry, that language is not going to happen with us. So it's like, okay, cool. Thanks for playing.
Yeah. Thanks for playing.
Thanks for playing, bro. Yeah. So
all right, before we wrap this shit up, I'm going to ask you the two questions, and it's also fucking really
You're
dark
like,
in
will
here
you
right
marry
now.
me? I'm like, yeah.
This is the questions that I ask everybody. Number one, will you marry me?
Yeah, he's like, I'm waiting. You're just doing this podcast just so, like, a girl will finally be like, yes. I know what the fuck you're doing.
I actually had one girl, I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
Who is a celebrity that you think would be in your league if they weren't a celebrity? Like, who's the hottest celebrity you think you could get if they weren't?
Yeah, but I don't like people based on looks. I know that sounds fucking pretentious.
Yeah, that really is pretentious.
Yeah,
and that really takes the fun out of this question.
Sorry. Okay, you're like, that really just ruins. I'm like, yeah, I don't do that. Next.
Yeah, whatever. What a dumb fucking question, guy. Anyway.
Who's somebody, well, I could tell you, like, a motherfucking Henry Cavill. I mean, I'm not saying he's my, but I'm just saying, like, he's someone, like, when I saw Superman, I saw it with my boyfriend at the time, and I remember being like, oh, yeah. Like, I was, he's
dude,
so
that guy
gorgeous.
is fucking perfect.
And then, like, I could see him, like, and I'm like, dude, if I just saw the most I would be like, I get it.
Dude,
like,
did you see him in Mission Impossible with the mustache?
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
he pulled off that mustache so fucking good.
His
that guy
body
is so handsome.
beefy, and like he's gorgeous, and I was just like,
British accent.
And how big he was. It was like specifically mostly Superman when he came out of like the water, like the lake, and when I was just like, okay, I'm uncomfortable.
Wow, your chest isn't the only thing that's wet here.
Yeah. I was like, yummy, and he was like, everybody can hear you out loud. But yeah, that's somebody who I'm like, well.
Yeah, no, I saw The Man from U.N.C.L.E. too with him. Did you see that movie? Dude, he's like this gentleman British spy, and he like has the accent and everything. Yeah. He doesn't like, and I was just like, God damn, like, dude, this guy fucking is just the ultimate.
Right.
Man. He's so handsome.
I'm such a person, like, and I'm not to be like, I'm such a person, it's just based off vibes. But it's like, there's so many people that I never thought, like, I dated a guy who was like completely like red hair, super pale, freckles everywhere. And I remember when I first saw him, I was like, that's not a human being. Like, he didn't even like register in my brain. And then like start talking, and I'm like, oh, he's the funniest guy. He's so fucking cool. And I was like, I am so attracted to you now. Like, yeah. And that's, yeah. And then I did another guy, like, you know, he looked, yeah. You just, I just never know.
I had that same thing where I always find like if a woman asks me out, right. I'm more open to that right. as opposed to, you know, like always having to chase somebody. So right. a person that would ask me out, I'm like, more open to like, yeah, right. I'm trying to think of a way to say this. Like the last woman that I like seriously dated, right. she asked me out.
Right.
And
but,
it
like,
was
on a date? Was she like, hey, you want to go on a date?
Well,
like, were you guys like, were you guys friends, coworker?
We rolled in like the same kind of group for a while, and we
comic?
Like.
Is that what you mean?
Huh?
Comic? Is that? Oh
no.
Oh, okay.
But she asked me out after we had like been talking. The same
group. What are you guys in, some skateboard club?
Yeah, dude. Fucking, you see my skateboard over there?
I do actually. No. Yeah.
She was one of the my circus teachers.
Oh, okay. All
so
right.
we
I'm
were
going home. Good night. Good night. One of your circus teachers. All right. You feel comfortable saying that?
Yeah, no. But she's like an amazing circus artist. But like we were talking, we were just like chilling, vibing and stuff. And then she asked me out. But previously I was like, I would never think of this person as somebody that I would date.
Right.
And then she asked me out, and I was like, okay, whatever, we'll do it. And then we dated for like 6 months, and that was fine. But looking back now, I'm like, she was never somebody that I saw, and I was like, I would want to date this person.
Yeah.
But then when she asked me out, I was more like,
receptive and open.
Yeah. Yes, that's the fucking word that I was trying to think of for like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Monarey. You're so generous and kind, and oh my God, will you marry me?
I know, amazing.
Last question before we wrap this bad bitch up.
Okay.
What's a piece
How long was this? Is this an hour?
Yeah, it's over an hour.
Okay. I was like, it's gotta be more than an hour. Yeah. Everybody always tells me, like, oh, you really made me go over. And I'm like,
no, it's fine.
Yeah, I know.
This is nowhere near the longest one that I've done.
What was the longest one?
I think an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, you know I could keep going more.
I know that
but I have stuff to do, okay? God.
What's one piece of advice that you'd give everybody listening about dating?
My best advice is I kind of...
Monterey's like, all right, here's a half-hour piece of advice.
Where I fucking
do a headlining
really
set about
magic.
Advice.
Yeah. I was like, I have notes. Do you have a microphone? Not this one. One for me to hold. Well, I kind of like touched on it earlier where it's like, don't put expectations on other people because then you're always going to be disappointed. And that's like a lesson I constantly have to like relearn myself is I always say, I'm like, think of women or men, like when you date them, think of them like a book. Like when you get a book, like you're renting it. So we don't know, it might be, you might finish it in a month. It might be laying around, you might have for 2 years, whatever. But it's like each new book you open, it's like, look at that as a way to do, you're like in a pedestrian way, like you're learning someone, you're learning about their culture, their life, their history, whatever. And it's like, that's what people are. It's like, have like an experience with a person. It's a book. And sometimes you keep the book and sometimes you got to go back and it's going to get rented out by somebody else. But it's like, that's okay. Like, people have that, like, is this my person? Is this my person? If you have that kind of like energy of just wanting everything to work out, then you're already like putting yourself in constraints that like aren't good for something to flourish. So definitely just appreciate what this person's bringing to you, appreciate the, every page that they give to you, and just once you're finished, if you don't want to keep it, you send it back, and it's okay because you got all the knowledge and the experience. So.
You got your name stamped in the back, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I was here.
Yeah. All my books have always been returned late, but it's like I return them, okay? But yeah, I think that's the best thing.
Cool.
Expectations.
Monterey, thanks for coming on doing the show. Do you want to, obviously, moxmagazine.com. Any other shit, like website, Instagram, Twitter,
no,
whatever?
I'm basically just promoting, like, Mox, and I definitely never tweet. I'm like, oh, yeah. But yeah, that's really the only thing I have.
All right, cool. Everybody check out Mox Magazine, moxmagazine.com. And once again, thanks for coming on the show.
You're so...
There you have it, everybody. That was my chat with Monterey. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out Mox Magazine at moxmagazine.com. It's hilarious. You're going to absolutely love it. For everything that you need to know about this show, head over to datingishardcomedy.com. Follow the Instagram at datingishardcomedy. You can follow me on Instagram at Joe Welkie for all the updates. If you want to contact the show, it's datingishardcomedy@gmail.com. There's a contact page on the website as well. If you could please give it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. It takes 2 seconds. I'm trying to get to 100 5-star reviews, so that'd be awesome if we could do that. And otherwise, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying the show. And if you are, tell a friend. If you're not, shut the fuck up. Take that shit to your grave. Yeah, that'd be nice. You don't need to broadcast every one of your feelings, Especially if they're negative. Especially if they're about this podcast. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for next week's show. And until then, later.